What's up, everyone? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers, and break down what's happening with the overall market moving forward, as we have other factors following the markets, and what's going on with the predictions for tomorrow. But let me just mention that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, what's happening with the markets is we got a nice little rebound for the day as the market started to push. SPY broke past 525 and continued to push up to 528 and breaking that opened the doors for 531. Now, this is very interesting because the market is just full of manipulation. The bears gave us this very, very nice looking bear flag like setup, which ended up failing. And the market made a nice V shaped recovery after we got initial jobless claims. The data came out this morning. The jobs numbers were not too bad. Initial jobless claims was below expectations, and continuing jobless claims was aligned with expectations too. This is once again a sign that despite the bad numbers we got for the labor market going into the last quarter, for the last week, the numbers have improved a bit and the market got a more positive reaction. So the question is, what's going to happen, right? One thing worth noting is that the market has lots of manipulation. And the last time we were at this level, we did get a big rejection. So we're going to be watching to see if that happens or not. But this will depend on the specific level and what kind of reaction we get. I'll talk about more details in just a couple of minutes. First, just notes that for earnings, okay, we have SoundHound that just came out, not to mention like Paramount and Unity. And for Paramount, they announced that they're going to be cutting 15% of the U.S. workforce. Earnings weren't that great, but we did have some good news that helped the share price. They're cutting 15% of their workforce, or about 2,000 jobs, and they have about $500 million in cost savings plans, which is going to be very, very important for them to reduce prices and continue to improve their margins. EPS was a beat at about 54 cents, adjusted above expectations, and revenue was a miss at 6.81 billion. Revenue is down 11%. Sales have dipped a little bit. However, what is good is the fact that their revenue is up 46% year over year. And on top of this, we're looking at a nice profit. We actually saw a profit for the quarter of about $26 million after losing $424 million a year ago. Analysts expected a loss of about $265 million this quarter, so they did way better than expected when it comes to profitability. That's part of why the share price is up right now. I think that was a big surprise. That's a very, very good piece of news for them. Despite the bad earnings that came out, that offset everything. That's why the share price is up. Now, fear is making up the majority of sentiment right now, and the market is seeing fear that is still present, but we're making attempts to recover, trying to get back over 125 daily moving average on the S&P 500. Now, other things that are affecting us is right now there's a lot more puts that are still entering the markets. The puts and call option positioning is still going up as the shorts are continuing to pile in, and volatility is still very fearful as the VIX is still elevated. Now, the market saw a little bit of a dip towards the end of the day, only to get bought back up. That happened because we had Barkin giving a speech from the Fed, and he said that inflation is coming down, but the Fed needs more time to address policy, and emergency cuts don't really make sense in his opinion. That is very important because he is once again negating the notion that the Fed has to do an emergency cut and this and that. He doesn't think that it's necessary, and thinks the Fed needs more time to address what's going on. So that was him giving us a nice reality check. So what's happening with the markets in terms of data? Tomorrow, there's not really anything coming out for economic data, but just notes that next week for Tuesday, we have PPI data and Bostic giving a speech. And then Wednesdays when we have CPI data coming out. So that's when we're going to be looking for a very, very big move, a big catalyst for Tuesday and Wednesday. For now, it's very, very simple. The way I would address this and kind of read this chart, if SPY is above 531 tomorrow and holds above that and breaks out, we're going up to 535, if not 540. There's going to be a nice push tomorrow if we manage to break above the 531s and hold for over an hour. But if we get a rejection, so you guys can see we're kind of struggling to break this resistance. The last time we were at 531, SPY rejected. If we get a rejection, expect 525, if not 522. Okay, so it's really simple. That is pretty much it. That's as simple as it's going to be to read this. Sometimes there are days where I give you guys more probable predictions, and there are other days where I have to be very, very cautious with that because the market's indecisive. I do want to note that the market pushed and pushed and pushed to resistance. There is no sign of us rejecting so far. So far, we're holding it very nicely, and there could be an attempt to break resistance. And this could be a trap for CPI. I will talk more about that in a later video. But just note that so far, the chart is a little bit more in favor of bulls. It is favoring the bulls a little bit more, so that gives the market a bit of an edge. But just to be safe, just watch the levels tomorrow. It's very simple. Hold above our key resistance, 531. If you hold that, we're going to be looking for a nice push to the upside towards the mid 530s if we break past the 531s. lose that, if we don't break past 531, we lose 528, we're going all the way down to 525 again. It's very simple. The market's very much just like trading within a range, and there's lots of manipulation in this markets. There's a lot of manipulation. There's a lot of trickery by these market makers. They dumped the markets yesterday just to pump it back up, and we're seeing lots of pumps and dumps. But just note we're at resistance, and they may try to pull a fast one tomorrow. So just be careful with these market makers. We have lots of option expirations, anyways. So give this time. The best thing to do in this situation is just wait for open, see if you reject or not, and then you'll watch the levels. If we don't break past 531, we reject. If we break it, we're going to be going back up. It's very simple. For Nvidia, it's the same thing. Now, Nvidia had a double top leg structure, and the trend has been in downwards direction. But notice how we made a higher low right here. So there is an attempt to bounce that is forming. The question is, will we get that rejection? So we're barely at resistance around this 106 area. If we break past 106, we could be squeezing for about 109. And if we reject, this is going to be dipping all the way down towards 103, if not the lower 100s. As of right now, it's showing some weakness. It's really struggling to break past 106. So I see a little bit of a risk for Nvidia. They might try to bring it back down. But there's no confirmation yet of us rejecting. We did reject once off the 106 area. There's no confirmation of us losing 105 to really start dipping back down towards like the low 103s, then 102, and eventually 100. There's no confirmation yet, but there is a risk of that looking at the chart. So this does favor a possible rejection, but not a guarantee until we look at the levels. So I'll be waiting for tomorrow just for confirmation. There's going to be a big test. So watch and see. If Nvidia breaks 106, we're bullish tomorrow. If we lose 105 and we fail to hold above it, look for a dip. It's very simple. Now, what's good for the markets is Bitcoin is up 12%, is squeezing right now, which suggests that the market might see some upside. That might actually help Nvidia and the others. So we're looking bullish on Bitcoin. We're going to be looking for 62,000 to be tested. If that breaks, the previous support becoming resistance is going to be tested at 62,500. So Bitcoin is looking very bullish right now. I think it's going to continue to squeeze. This might be able to help the markets. ES is pushing, but we're going to be testing key resistance tomorrow, our 200 EMA. I think we push a little bit higher, but watch 5360 around that area. If we break resistance, this thing could be going back up to about 5400. If we don't break 5360 and we reject, we could be retesting the 5320 area, then eventually all the way back down towards 5300 flat we go. So it's a very, very big test tomorrow. Break 5360, we're bullish. If you reject, we're going back down to 5300. I think we're going to test it tomorrow and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. On SPX, the same thing is going on. We're testing the 50 EMA as resistance. 53.26. If we break this tomorrow, look for this gap resistance all the way up to about 53.50. If we break 53.25, so 53.50 would be coming, and then an attempt to fill this gap all the way up towards the 5400s. If we lose, okay, with this key support over here, we have this key support, which is where our 20 EMA happens to be at 52.80. If that fails us, watch 52.50 as our next support. If that breaks, we have a gap to fill down here. So I would say if we lose 52.80, we're bearish. If we break past 53.25, we're bullish. We're stuck in the middle, so give this some time. For Tesla, it looks a little bit more bullish from a technical standpoint. Now, this depends on news and data. If we lose 198, look for a dip all the way down to 195, then 192. If we're bullish and we break past 200, look for 202, then eventually 204 plus. From a technical standpoint, we have a nice bullish divergence, not bullish divergence, bullish wedge that is forming. This is favoring a push for 202. The chart looks a little bit more bullish from a technical standpoint. It looks like it made a big U-turn and buyers are defending, so we'll see if that ends up being the case or not. For NQ, we hit this resistance. We're actually trying to break it right now, but our 200 EMA is coming at 18,620. If we break the 18,600 area, this is kind of downward trending, so maybe it's going to be close to 18,500 tomorrow. That 18,500 to 18,600 area. If we break that, we're going all the way up to 18,800. If you reject, we're going to be going back down towards 18,300. We're in the middle, so give this some time, but just know that NQ is looking a little bit more bullish. For the QQQ, we're seeing a very, very nice attempts to break out right here. We're testing 448 as key resistance. Break that tomorrow, we're going up to 455. If we fail and we end up losing 446, look for a dip for 444 and then 442. In my opinion, we're at resistance. We're shuffling right now. Got to see if we break this. We do look a little bit more bullish as we're making higher highs and higher lows, and the dailies a little bit more bullish on the QQQ. So it does favor upside a little bit more, but just to be safe, I'm not going to promise that. This could just be a temporary move. So we'll see. We'll see if we break past 448 and hold above it. If we hold it tomorrow, look for more upside. If not, we're going to dip. I would love to give you guys just one prediction, but I just want to say that the market's very indecisive and it's very tricky. So I would say it's best to just be very patient, give the market time, and watch your levels for confirmation of what the move is going to be. I don't always do this, guys. Most of the time, I'm giving you guys predictions, but in this case, I think it's very important for me to be unbiased because the market is very manipulated, and we're seeing some very, very big tests that are coming. For Aapl is going to be testing this resistance around 214. We have a bullish wedge that's forming. This is favoring, in my opinion, a test of about 216. That looks more probable. And if that breaks, we could be filling this gap up to 218. So 216 to 218 look like potential targets on Aapl. If we lose to 212, we're going to start dipping all the way down to about 208. The chart, however, from a technical standpoint, is favoring upside. It looks like it wants to be pushing to at least 216. So it looks more bullish to me. For others out there like Palantir, Palantir is pushing up very, very nicely, trying to make these new highs. If we remain bullish, especially after the news that came out, we're going to be looking for a test of 30. I think 30 is going to be tested, so a little bit more upside is coming, and we'll have to see if we can break that or not. If we lose 28, we're going to be retracing back down to 27.23, so give it some time. But just know that this is favoring the upside direction. This is more likely to go up towards 30 plus. It looks a little bit more bullish than bearish. Supermicro dipped quite a bit, saw a little rejection before it tried to continue. We're barely holding support around 509. If we hold 509, I could be looking for a pushback up to 530 tomorrow. If we lose 509, we're going to be dipping back down towards 503, then eventually back down to the 490 area. This chart is favoring a bounce. We have a nice looking structure right here, forming a nice little cup. And I think that this is favoring a move to the upside, especially as we have this imbalance to the left to fill. I think we might be pushing higher. It kind of favors that a bit more as we held support. If we lose support, I will turn back to bearish, but this is starting to favor upside. The 4 hour is also turning very nicely, so this is giving us a nice PPO crossover. This is potentially looking like it wants to bounce for 530. So I see more upside potential in Supermicro for tomorrow. That's looking a bit more probable to me. For Rivian, we're forming a potential flag right now. We are attempting to rebound. I think that for tomorrow, we're going to dip a little bit. We're going to likely dip towards 14.5, maybe during the pre-market. And if we bounce, this is going back up to the 15s. If we lose 14.5, we could be dipping all the way down towards these imbalances. 14 to 13.8 are coming. So look for a test of 14.4 to 14.5 tomorrow. If we bounce, we're going back up to 15 plus. If we lose it, we're going to turn bearish. So look for a little dip, and then we'll see if we bounce or not. But that's looking very favorable to me. For SoFi is looking a little bit more decent right now. We need to try to break past this resistance. So we're at resistance. Here's the problem. The last time we hit these levels, the last time we hit this like 6.7 to about 6.8 area, SoFi rejected and also rejected. So we're testing that same resistance 6.7 to 6.75 right now. I think we're going to push a little higher during the pre-market. If we get the rejection, we're going to be retesting 6.5. If that fails, we're going all the way back down towards 6.3. If we break past 6.7, we're going to be looking for a big push all the way up towards 6.8 and basically very close to $7. So look for a big test tomorrow at 6.7. Do we break it or not? We're shuffling right now. I don't really have confirmation of either direction yet, so I'm just going to wait and see. From a technical standpoint, we do look a little bit more bullish. It is favoring upside, especially when we look at our 4-hour time frame. So this is favoring like it wants to push higher. So we'll see. Just to be safe, watch your levels, but just know the technicals do look a little bit more bullish. For the Russell, I just want to say that this is kind of tough. 207 to 208 is going to be a tough resistance. We hit 207 back on Tuesday, then we rejected. On Wednesday, we hit 208, then we rejected. Today, we're hitting 207. Are we about to reject or are we about to go back up? We have to wait and see. If we get a rejection of 207, watch 205 as support. If that breaks, we're going back down to 203, then the low 200s. If we hold and break above 207, look for a push all the way back up towards 208.5, then 210. We're in the middle. We are favoring upside a little bit more, But just to be safe, watch to see if we get that rejection between 207 and 208. If you reject between 207 and 208, we're going back down to 205 or lower. If we break past 208, we're going to be looking for a big bounce. I think we may push higher, so give it some time and we'll just have to see how things go. For AMD, we have this resistance up here towards 136.5. If that breaks, we could be pushing all the way up towards almost 140. If we reject, we're going to be dipping back down towards 133. And if that fails us, AMD is going back down to 129. So we're literally at resistance right now. Do you guys see this? We're at resistance exactly right over here. So we'll have to see if we get this break or not. Do we reject off this area? It's going to be a big test tomorrow. So I'll be waiting to see where this line is. That's exactly where the resistance is. The last time we touched this, we did reject. So we'll see. I'm just going to wait and see on this. It looks a little bit more bullish. It looks like it might try to break through this. So we'll see. But just note that that's going to be a very, very key level, a big test for tomorrow. The whole market's doing this, guys. ARM has the same setup, okay? We're at this resistance all over again right over here. Are we going to break past 120 on ARM and turn bullish? So then we would start pushing up for 125. Why? Because that's previous support right here becoming resistance. Are we going to see a big breakout all the way like that? Or is ARM about to get a big rug pull all the way back down to our EMAs? Are we about to, reject off 120, go back down to 114? Or are we about to break past 120, go up to 125? We're in the middle, so give it some time, so we'll see how things go. Coinbase is looking more bullish. We're pushing up very, very nicely right now. If we break 200, so we're at resistance at 200. Yesterday we touched 200, and then we got this big rejection. If we break 200, we're going to be going all the way up towards 205, then 212. If we reject off 200, we're going to be dipping back down to 191. So we look more bullish, in my personal opinion. I think there's a good chance that Coinbase is going to be fighting this resistance. We'll have to see if it breaks. It looks a little bit more bullish. It looks bullish to me from a technical standpoint. So we will see tomorrow. I know the market's very manipulated and these market makers have lots of trickery coming for Friday, but there's this gap to fill, which gives us a bit of an edge to try to break past 200. So I think Coinbase has potential to push higher. Just to be safe, we'll watch for confirmation tomorrow if we break and hold above 200. For Amazon, the same thing is going on. We have this resistance at 167 to 168, around this 167 area. This is going to be our resistance. We're almost there right now. Tomorrow, if we break the white line you see, Amazon's going to be squeezing to almost 170. It looks bullish because we had a low here, made a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. So it might try to push. But if we reject, just like we did last time off 167, we're going back down to 164, then eventually 162. I think we're going to push a little bit tomorrow to 167. This could be forming kind of like a cup and handle, so it might actually try to break through that and push into the 170 area. We'll see. I'm going to be very patient with that, but make sure you watch that big test. For Meta, I'm going to hide these levels just to make this very simple to see. For Meta, okay, we're in a very, very key area right now. We're going to be watching this key resistance. I'll be watching to see if this cup and handle like structure plays out. Watch resistance at 510. We're actually breaking the highs. If we hold above 510 tomorrow, we're going to be going all the way up towards 515 and eventually the 525 area. If we reject off 510, we'll be dipping back down to 501. This chart has a cup and handle, so it's favoring upside. It looks like it's going to be going up to 515 to me, but just to be safe, watch and see if we hold the levels. For Microsoft, we're just shuffling. We kind of have a bullish wedge forming. If it breaks 404, we could be looking for 40, this high right over here towards 407. If we lose 402, we'll be dipping back down. The market is shifting because of manipulation. We're very much just trading sideways, but this does have some upside potential. But watch and see if we hold above 402. For Google, for bullish, you want to see a break past 165. If that breaks, we could be filling this gap up here towards 168. If we end up projecting off 165, look for 163. Support for that dips will be coming back down. There's a potential uptrend that could be forming, so I see upside potential, so we'll just have to give this some time. For GameStop, we're a little bit more bullish looking. It looks like it might be testing 22.34 tomorrow. We'll see if it rejects. For AMC, we're looking a little bit more bullish, might be testing 5.2. We'll see if it rejects. And then DJT is trying to rebound, look for a test of 26.39. If that breaks, I think this imbalance is going to fill for 26.8. If it rejects, we're going back down to 25.5. The chart's favoring upside a little bit more going into Friday. The VIX is kind of rejecting right here. We might be retesting our 200 EMA. We'll see if the VIX starts dipping back down towards basically 22.26. Then maybe it bounces and just kind of trades sideways for a bit. I still see this gap up here on the VIX to fill, so I have a feeling that there might be another spike coming, but it might not happen until next week, maybe because of CPI or something. So with that being said, there's two more left. The 10-year is still climbing, especially because of what Barkin said about how the Fed has to be patient. So the Fed is not as dovish as what the market was thinking, but the market may have kind of like priced in a lot of that already. And then the dollar is still on a bit of an uptrend, kind of consolidating right now, not really doing much. We'll see if the dollar breaks 103.5 to turn bullish, or if we lose 103 to turn bearish. We're still in the middle. We're at 103.23 right now, which is like in the middle. So we'll just give it more time. So for the markets, I'm going to say this, okay? I'm not as fixated on my prediction for this video because the market is kind of like in the middle. We're at resistance and there's a lot of trickery right now, right? We dumped yesterday only to pump back up. Are we pumping back up today just to dump again? We'll have to wait and see. There could be a dump tomorrow. It all depends. So the best thing to do is watch the levels I called out. So if SPY is above 531, we're bullish. If not, if we lose 528, we go back down to bearish. Just watch your levels. It's very simple. Watch it for tomorrow, and that's going to give you all the answers you need. It requires patience to be in the market sometimes, actually almost all the time, but I would say particularly tomorrow is going to be one of those most important days for patience, and we'll see how things go. Thank you for listening, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you guys tomorrow before the market opens, and peace out.